Hello there and welcome to my channel. My name is Jessica. I'm a broadcaster, a voice actor, fitness enthusiast, and a biker girl who lives in Accra, Ghana. Now, if this is the first time you're tuning into my channel, thank you so much for, making time out to, just spare a few minutes of your time to be with me. And I would say if you like the video, don't forget to subscribe, to also hit the like button and share the video so other people can see it as well. And so today's video essentially is going to talk about how I bought my first house and what you can do to be well on your way to buying yours right after this. Welcome back. So let me get into a little background about myself so you know the kind of person that I was and the reason for which I was able to, buy my first home before I was 30 years old. And maybe exactly why you can do it too. So essentially, I was the kind of child who learned how to save very, very early on in my life. I started saving by the age of 8. And it happened by coincidence, really, because I, like many Ghanaian parents, had a mother who, if guests came home and gave me a gift of sorts, usually monetary, she would say, oh, let me keep it for you. Later on, I'll let you have it, kind of thing. And then when you were ready to actually come for your money to purchase whatever you wanted, be they sweets or toys, whatever, she would say, oh, but you've been eating in the house for free. You haven't paid electricity. You haven't paid water before. So I spent your money feeding you. So essentially, my mom would never give you the money back. And my brother and I sort of devised a way around things like that because we hated it when she did that and we felt cheated. And so instead of giving any of our little gifts to her to keep, we devised a way to just keep the money to ourselves and in some special drawers that we had set aside as our little banks. We didn't have piggy banks back in the day. Well, at least we didn't have it at home. And so we had to improvise. And I remember the cash that I had, for instance, was wrapped in like several layers of wrapper because I didn't want my brother to steal my money. So I started learning how to save very, very early on. And typically what would happen is by the end of the year, if I had enough money, my mom would take my brother and I or my siblings to Accra, and then we'll go and buy whatever our money could afford. I remember one particular Christmas, I bought a tambourine and I was so excited about it. Like, my own money, buying my own toy that I really, really liked. Fast forward, I didn't change much when I went to school. And I started working at the age of 19 at Vibe FM back in the day. And so I had money coming in, pretty early on in my life. And I remember receiving my first paycheck. It wasn't much, but I was always that kid who would save my money and go and spend like with my friends, like their money, that kind of thing. I was really frugal. I just don't spend because I have money. Usually every single cent that I have, goes towards one thing or the other. Okay. I'm trying to build this sort of background so you sort of figure out the kind of person that I was financially, that sort of helped me to sort of purchase my first home. So by the time I was 23, 24, 25, I had quite a bit in my savings, and like I said, I think that's what really prepared me to buy my first home. Fast forward, just before I turned 28, I remember there was this day my boss approached me and he said, have you ever thought of owning your own home? And I said, it would be nice, but I didn't think I could do it. Plus, I know my parents worked on owning, built their first house in their 40s. And I was only 20. I wasn't even 30. I was in my 20s and I thought, I have so much time to do that as well. I mean, if my parents did it at 40, it's okay if I do it at 40 as well. I don't know why I was thinking like that. But in a nutshell, that day, it sort of woke me up that indeed, why was I waiting for so long to do the same thing that my parents had done years earlier? So my boss sort of planted that idea in my head that I could own my own home. And he told me where I could go to get a mortgage. And then he also mentioned like a real estate developer that he knew, who had helped a colleague of mine, for instance, and who could probably also help me purchase a house. So when he did mention that to me, I went to visit, to see the site, went to meet the realtor. And then, he showed me a couple of houses and I said, I want that one. How much is it going to cost? And he gave me the price. The completed house was going to be out of my range at the time. And so I went for a semi-finished property. And I remember when I bought it, it was just literally the structure with a roof. It didn't have a ceiling. It didn't have tiles. It didn't have paint. It didn't have anything. It was literally a skeletal structure. And that's what I bought. And I remember at the time I bought it, I had like 9 months left on my rent for where I was living. And so I had to like really speed things up to be able to, finish the property in time so I could move in exactly when my rent ended. But that's even like a little later on, before I even closed the deal. So essentially, just backtracking a little bit, when my boss told me about the property, I went to see the realtor. I went to see the property. I liked it. And then I went to a mortgage company here in Accra. And I told them, well, okay, so I've seen this house. It's costing X amount of dollars. What do I need to do to get it? And the gentleman said, oh, well, actually, tell me, how much do you earn? Based on what you earn, I'll be able to tell you how much loan we can give you, and we would give you a 20-year mortgage. So essentially, pay 25% the price of the house as a down payment, and then we will spread the rest for you over a span of 20 years at XXX interest rate per annum. So that's what I did, luckily for me, and this is reason why I was telling you about, my savings from way back when, because I felt like if I hadn't developed that culture of saving and not just spending on random useless things, I would not have had enough money to do the deposit. And the good thing was, some of these realtors are actually really good. They can even say, okay, you know what, say you're supposed to pay me, say, 50,000 cedis as down payment. You don't have it. Pay me 10,000 now. I'll spread the rest for you whilst you also pay your mortgage. So there are some realtors or real estate agents who are actually, or mortgage companies even, who are really like flexible with things like that. And these are all things that you should be sort of looking out for. And so, so I went to that mortgage company. They calculated my income and told me how much I would be paying as a mortgage at the time. And I remember quite clearly, my mortgage was $470 a month. The only downside to that was, once again, my mortgage was in dollars. And shortly after the CD began to depreciate. So I can't remember, for instance, when I started paying my monthly mortgage, I was paying about 700 cedis a month when I first started out. But by the time I was 2.5 years in, I was paying more than twice the amount that I started with every month, because the CD had continued to depreciate. And that's one thing about the types of mortgages that you might want to also look at. Either you do a mortgage in Ghanaian cedis, which has a way higher interest rate, or you do the US dollar and hope that the cedi doesn't depreciate. Now, if you'd like me to do like a separate video on this whole mortgage thing, break it down for you so it comes out clearly, I'm happy to do that. But essentially, that's really it. So they asked me to pay 25% the price of the house. I got that money for them like that because I'd been saving literally from when I was 8 years old. So I gave them the deposit, and literally they gave me the keys to the house. So like I said, I bought it semi-finished. So in 9 months, I was ready to move in. So essentially, that's how I was able to buy my house. Now, if you want to buy your house as well, there are a couple of things that I'd like you to consider. Okay, I don't know how old you are as you watch this video. You may be younger than 30, you may be older than 30, but if you're planning on buying your first house, there are a few things I would like you to consider. I'll be really quick with them. So the first one is you need to determine if you're actually ready to own a home. Why do I say this? So it's really easy to rent someone's property, just pay for your water, your electricity, and your rent and move in, right? Whereas if you're a homeowner, there are other things that you need to consider, like repairs and maintenance, like insurance, where you want to insure your property against anything, because anything can happen. God forbid, you could your house could suddenly catch fire, for instance, and you'll be found wanting if you don't have a home insurance, So it goes beyond just like being someone who's just living in a landlord or landlady's property, but there are other things you need to consider, where a house is concerned and being a homeowner is concerned. And so you need to think through it properly if this is something you want to do. And there are other expenses that you may not necessarily see at this point in time that may become very real to you and very apparent to you the minute you move in. Also, you want to make sure that you actually look at your savings, have a close look at how much money you've been able to amass over the years. You may not necessarily even have the amount you need to make a deposit, but sometimes you're able to broker a deal with the homeowner company, the mortgage companies, I beg your pardon, such that they can even break down the down payment further for you to allow you to be able to acquire the house. But, just take a close look at your savings, see what you have, review your expenditure, because one thing about paying a mortgage is once you sell. So this is how my mortgage company did it, where I was giving post-dated checks 1 year in advance. So if we were entering 2019, I was giving the company post-dated checks at a higher price. So let's say the dollar to the CD was, say, 2 CDs. The mortgage company would make sure you pay post-dated checks of 3 CDs instead every single month to cater for price hikes or CD depreciation. And so on the 28th of every month, for instance, the check would go through. And if it bounced, you would have to pay a penalty, and nobody wants to do that. It's already hard enough to pay your mortgage. And so you want to look at your expenditure, because if you calculate what you're spending every month and it's way more than what you earn, then you may not be able to service the loan. You also have to think critically about what kind of home will suit your needs. And I know, like, for a lot of us, we wish we were just buying our dream home outright. But the truth is, that property I bought at the time was my first. I bought another one after that and another. And I'm just saying that your first house doesn't have to be your dream house. It just has to be functional, a place to lay your head whilst you make bigger plans, on your dream home, So it could be, for instance, maybe a 2-bedroom. Maybe you're not married or you have just one child. All of you can fit in a 2-bedroom really easily. So you spend some couple of years with a mortgage to buy this 2-bedroom house, service your loan, pay off maybe even easily, and then go ahead to plan towards, perhaps with your partner, towards building your dream home. So your first house does not have to be your dream home. Keep that in mind and just work with it, okay? Also, you really want to know or consider how much mortgage you actually qualify for. Now, if the mortgage company that you're going to solicit for the loan from is a really good one, chances are they already have a website. And on that website, they'll have a mortgage calculator. So all you need to do is to go to the website, put in the amount of income you earn every month, and literally the calculator will be able to tell you, okay, for this amount of income, you can receive so much money in a loan. And ahead of time, you can also, it can help you sort of choose the kind of home that you eventually settle on. So yeah, I mean, these are a few pointers that I have for you. But I mean, essentially, it's very important that you spend less, save more, especially if you're someone who's a first-time home buyer and someone who'd like to acquire your own property. You'll be so happy, you'll be so fulfilled, and buy something within your means as well. My first property was a 3-bedroom, semi-detached house in some estate somewhere, and it wasn't like great, but I loved it and I made it my own. And I believe that you can do same to sort of follow your dreams and go ahead to own your first home. So I wish you the best of luck. That's how I did it. I'm sure you can do it too. If you like this video, don't forget to like the button, share the video, subscribe, switch on notifications. I would really appreciate it. And if you'd like me to also do a follow-up video on exactly how I managed to pay my 20-year mortgage in just 2.5 years, let me know and I'll be more than happy to do that. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching and bye-bye for now.